All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Zyori Podcast. We're here with podcast number 79, the post-TI, the post-mortem. I'm depressed because TI's over, so I brought in Slacks to try and cheer me up. Mr. Smiley.
How you doing? Oh, Zyori, so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for making time for me. You're one busy chunk, dude. Every time I saw you, you're running around like a cracked up homeless lady.
Yeah, a homeless lady. That's great. Thank you for making that distinction. Yeah, very busy event as always. The TI that I'm not busy will be my last TI. I always like to work and get my stuff done. So
yeah,
there we go, buddy. How was your TI? You busy?
My TI was awesome, Slack. So I got to cast the group stage, which was the plan, right? And then I got to do a little bit of funsies on the newbie stream. They were just doing the first best of 3 for every day, and then there were a few days where Purge was feeling extra giddy. He was like, I had a Red Bull. I'm energized. Yes, I'm ready.
A Red Bull, if you weren't paying attention.
A Red Bull. For fuck's sake, dude.
Continue.
Okay. So I got to do a little bit of stuff on the noob stream. I got to cast the VP Secret Elimination Series, which was fucking hype, if you recall. And I got to do the EG CDEX series, not the last one, but the one before that on I guess it was day 5. So that was pretty fun. It was still the noob stream, but I still got to cast like from the ground floor. You know, you feel all the hype, all the energy, all the people going ape shit because their favorite teams are losing.
Yep.
Something about that energy, you just can't replicate it, man. It's so cool. I know you don't cast often or but
well, yeah, that's true. But I will say though, TI, the energy there this year. Last year, I would have regretted going, and I told people that. If I bought a ticket myself...
You would have regretted going as just a regular peon.
As a regular peon, just watching from the stands. It was not cool. It was not hype. There was just a screen. You could hardly see it. There were 2 teams there. You could hardly see them. And I would have got a better view from my house and all that. This year, though, the auditorium... Oh, my God. It was hype. It was super hype. The graphics on the ground. The boys staring at each other. The ultimates bouncing between them. The rotating penis... That shit was all. I was all over that, and the crowd was wild this year.
Yeah, the crowd was super hype, and I'm glad. As much as I was cheering for the Chinese teams, I'm glad that we didn't have 2 Eastern teams in the finals because it makes the crowd a lot less hype. When you have like the different regions, the kind of polar opposites, the fans get split, and then you have the one side that's going crazy, USA, USA, then CDEC. Yeah, they don't quite have a chant, but.
Sudek.
They try and out C-deck each other with a cheer, and it's good. I like that. It adds to the hype levels.
The crowd has really improved since last year as well. There was a lot of even though the Western scene is kind of nefarious for not being that supportive of the Chinese. No. But this year, even when like the Chinese teams had really good plays against their favorite teams, they were like, So
that's true.
There was a lot less bias this year. I think we learned a lot as a community from how it was last year. There was like there's like auditory booing when Noob got a good play last year. But anyway, let's talk about the noob stream.
The noob stream.
I'm very interested in this.
Is that what you're interested in?
Yeah, because God knows I didn't watch it. So I was. How was it? I heard it was a little shaky in the beginning. Did it get worked out?
Was it shaky in the beginning? I only did stuff on days, was it 4 and 5? So I missed the whole first few days of the noob stream.
Apparently the production value was shaky on the noob stream for the first couple days, and then I didn't hear anything after that, so I assume it got fixed up.
I guess, you don't really come to the noob stream for production value. There's no swooping camera shots. There's no sick transitions. It's an XSplit setup. It's Purge sitting there doing his own camera control. If you went into that hoping to see the camera shots from the main stream, you were just confused. Reading is more of your problem than Dota 2 at that point.
Noob stream.
It's oddly satisfying. It's the only stream where I've ever been told during the setup, like, okay, here are the buttons, here's a little joystick for the camera. Now you're gonna want to just pull up Twitch chat. Purge is doing the in-game camera control, so just field some questions. See how they're reacting to what you're saying. If you're going too fast, if they seem confused, just slow it down a little bit. I was like, wow, this is really.
That sounds chill though. That sounds cool.
It is. It's very low stress. It's really fun, and they wanted this year to be more of a middle ground. Like last year, it was almost too newbie, where it's like, okay, idiot. This is a creep.
Right.
This is a hero. This year they made pre-rolls where they had the overall, this is Dota 2, explaining kind of the basic terminology. And then they had a specific video for each role.
Wow.
So we would roll the basic one and then one for each video, or one for each role before every game.
Mm-hmm.
So if you watched a couple of them, you'd go, okay, let's learn about hard support, or let's learn about hard carry or whatever. So that helped kind of the baseline stuff, and then during the draft, we would explain more the basics of why heroes work well together, explain how every spell works, that kind of stuff. But you still do play-by-play and team fights. So like when Secret was eliminated, it was still like super hype. I was completely screaming, going crazy. The difference is in the post-fight analysis, it's more of like, okay, so this hero used Fissure. Fissure's that long chode-looking one that blocks them out.
Right.
And you kind of you break it down more simplistic.
Sounds like the most hype educational thing I've ever heard of.
Oh.
And there's the Echo Slam, which is when 4 heroes go.
That is strikingly similar to what happened.
That's awesome.
I think it was really fun. It was really satisfying too to see people in Twitch chat. Like there were a lot of folks that were obvious League of Legends players that had heard about the International that hadn't played much of Dota. So there were a lot of questions asking about like league mechanics, and we were talking about Enigma and Black Hole. Like, oh, is that like Orianna? I'm like, well, kind of. She does have those little magnetic balls, but this is like everything Orianna does on steroids in one awesome blue darkness hole of madness.
Yeah,
Eidolons and shit.
Oh, you think you converted any from League over?
I hope so. I mean, that was the most satisfying part about it, because you don't look at that number count and go, oh man, there's 3,000 people watching this.
Right.
Like, this is really rustling my jimmies. But it's amazing to see a positive Twitch chat experience where people were asking questions, thanking each other for the good information. It's so for me that was really cool to see. And even if you convert 1 or 2 people or open up someone's brain to be a little more receptive to Dota, I feel like that's pretty powerful, man. I don't know. I walked away with just an awesome feeling of I got a taste of what it's like to cast on the main floor of TI. I still got to feel the crowd hype, and I got to help a few new skis get their feet wet with a little bit of the dotes.
Screw it, man. The regular casters, cool. Everyone out there already likes Dota. What's the point?
Yeah,
noob streams where it's at.
And Purge makes it easy. I mean, that guy's a complete monster. He knows how to speak the newcomer language so well.
Absolutely. Well, being a noob certainly helps. Yeah. So that's for sure. True. Sorry, buddy.
So it was fun. The chairs were a little uncomfortable. I have to imagine. Well, they were just too high for the table. Like maybe I just have big thighs because I couldn't scoot all the way under the table. So I was kind of casting with like the spread eagle around the chair, so I could kind of get under there. It was definitely not the most ergonomic setup I've ever used, but the adrenaline made up for it.
Seating at the Akira Arena. I love TI. I love it, but as a tall man, that shit is not legit.
I thought you were going to say as a gay man.
As a tall gay man.
But as a proud, tall homosexual, I couldn't fit in there. I don't know why. I got a little too giddy on the pub crawl night, and some nights, man, you ever get in that mood where you flick the wrist a little too much? Has that ever happened to you, or is that just a Zyori thing? No.
I got a high enough voice where I got to be on the lookout for that anyway. I get approached often, so
I just assume at parties you go for the Naga Siren voice, and that's what really attracts all the young gentlemen.
Yeah, man, they love that.
Yeah, they really.
Yeah, I was the most comfortable place for me in the Key Arena was either not in the arena, or I would have to go to the press section and then sit on the divider. Because I was like, my legs were seriously like they could not fit.
Sit on the divider?
Like where you put your drink. Just be like that. I was like that guy. And it was real weird, but that's my one gripe with Key Arena. I love everything else.
So it's just made for shorter people.
It is.
Yeah. The VIP suites are awesome. Like I'm not a big sporting event guy.
How was that? Is that cool, Zyori?
It was cool. So were you not a VIP for this fine event? I saw you in there.
I was. Yeah. Fun fact. I only watched one game in completion from start to finish.
So that's actually kind of a funny thing I want to talk about. I was talking to Risky Rob about this. And how TI is a completely different experience depending on where you're hailing from and what your goal is, right? Yeah. There are some people that come and just watch the entire thing, like Anuxi. I know like a TI3, she did a whole bunch of workshop stuff. I talked to her last year, and she said, well, I wanted to just come and actually watch the Dota. I want to enjoy the games. And I think this year she did that as well. She wants to come and actually absorb all this top-tier Dota. A buttery fuck like you don't give a shit about that Dota. You want to see the people. You're in it for the lifeblood.
Yeah. It was a lot of just interviewing as many people as I could, making as many connections as I could. And you're completely right. TI it's a collection of the best of the best in Dota 2, not just in players, though, in the community at large. I mean, just every single person of importance is in there, and it's terrifying. As somebody who's trying to come up...
Is it scary?
Well, as someone that's trying to come up in the scene... you have to make these critical choices. Do I talk to the head of ESL right now? Or do I get that interview with Loda that I've been trying to get for 2 hours so that my boss is happy? Shit like that happens every day, every moment. People come up to you, they say, "Oh, hey Slacks, how you doing?" And you're like, "Oh Christ, who is this?" And then you don't, depending on how you answer, that could be a new job or that could be a hated enemy. I mean, it's very stressful stuff.
It is true, actually. I every time I see you, you're running around like a madman. I bumped into you right as I walked into the venue, and then we did that same time interview with that poor fuck that was so confused.
That guy had a great...
That guy, well, he was like one of those people that was a little bit monotoned and seemed like seemed into it, but his delivery was just spot on. We did, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, he was like talking to somebody, and I never told you this, but the preface of the story that makes it even funnier is that I didn't realize that you could just bundle your ticket to your Steam account. So I thought everybody that had one of the lanyards that had a name on it was somebody really fucking important. Like they were like a workshop creator or a contributor.
YOLO Lord 69.
So, yeah, if we go back and look at that video, I walk up and I'm looking at the guy's badge like, "Oh, who are we interviewing here? Cool, whatever, I've never heard of you, but let's do this, it must be important." I had no idea he was a random guy. So he's in the middle. Slacks and I are both with our camera guys and individual microphones just trading off questions. And about halfway through, we're just asking quiz questions about the other person, trying to indirectly find ways to slam. Right. And the guy was answering them pretty well. But my camera guy pulled out a picture, a still, of both of us just holding our sides, cackling. And the guy's in the middle making the most stale face possible, just like, I don't know why they're laughing at me so hard. I just answered their questions. I don't...
Oh, that was great.
That poor fuck.
That poor guy. He was great, though.
Oh,
What a trooper.
He was the only person that got sandwiched by Zyori and SirActionSlacks at the main event of TI.
Event.
So
don't worry. Next year, watch out.
So what other content did you shoot? I mean, obviously you did some fun trolley interviews. Did you do anything serious? Did you talk to any players or like real
We did talk to players. Everything was pretty trolly and weird, though. I did a lot of skit stuff. So
pre-planned, like rehearsed skits or off the cuff?
It was pretty off the cuff skits. Wow, it was pretty off the cuff scripts. But no. I mean, I had if you find somebody at TI, you got at most 5 minutes. It's like usually, they're on their way to something. You got to be like, microphone in the face, let's do it. Yeah. So I had to come up with these things just off the cuff, and I had a few good ones. My favorite one, I think, it's either a tie between I asked OD and Cinderin. You think you could cast anything in Dota related? They're like, yeah. And I brought them upstairs and I got 10 kids to LARP Dota in the lobby and I had them cast it and we were like screaming and fighting each other. That shit was so funny.
That's pretty legit. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And then we had a tour in the backstage of the secret shop and a bunch of Valve guys were there and I found a box of defective Lenas and we made an obstacle course so they had to throw a bear to a kid. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, skit-based comedy is very difficult to plan quickly.
Yeah,
we got it.
It sure is.
The Swedes love it.
Who were you doing content for this year? Were you here on the SirActionSlacks dime? Were you here on the Valve dime?
Nope. I was contacted almost very shortly before I was going to go to TI anyway by MTG. You might know them as
Magic the Gathering.
Yes, Magic the Gathering. I don't know what their name stands for, but it's a Swedish broadcasting company.
Modern Times Group.
That's
what the
it.
Fuck is wrong with you, dude? I don't even know them, and I know this. It's the company that just bought ESL.
Exactly.
Yeah, get plugged in, dude.
Yeah. So it's a Swedish company that's looking to acquire a lot of stuff in esports and become a player in the esports broadcasting scene. Okay. And so they had me do that, and I think most of my content went live on their stream to Swedish television. So I'm huge in Sweden.
No way.
Yeah, and then I hope they put it on YouTube because I actually never saw my own content. I have no idea.
Can we do like a Swedish tour? Can we do like a ZyoriSlacks just bus tour around Sweden where we go to different LAN cafes?
I'm huge over there. I'm bigger than Toby in Sweden.
We'll cast some like pub games. We'll yell in Swedish. Eat some meatballs. Go to IKEA.
Yeah, I kept asking him like, why me? Like, why me?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Do they like me? And he's like, no, I just like your energy. I think you're a cool guy, and I want to see what you had in you for stuff. And I'm like, all right. So hopefully I did good. I have not seen any of my content. No reviews yet. No idea how it went. So if I never hear from him again, it's a good answer for how things went.
You got out there and gave 110%. That's all you can do, right?
Voice is gone, sick, tired. Love it. Great TI.
Sounds just like the Summit 3.
Right. That's
voice was
how it
gone
always
and you
goes.
were sick and tired.
Yep. Anytime I go outside, really, my immune system is rocked.
So, did you do anything with all the beautiful cosplayers at this event, Slack?
Oh, cosplayers. There's a few of them, yeah. Mostly just had them go and do their skills.
Every time I think about cosplayers, I think about your TI video from last year when you open it and you go, the cosplayers. Why anyone would want to put on a costume and run around, I have no idea. That, like, weird wannabe movie phone guy, like, the cosplayers.
I was going to do a cosplay this year, and then I had flashbacks to last year when I ripped my pants in front of the... did I tell you that story?
You know, you didn't, but I saw it on the internet.
Oh, God.
How did you bust your... The only time I've seen somebody rip their pants was the computer teacher I had in 7th grade, and she just made this exposed face, and she goes, I just busted my pants, and then she just fucked off and sewed her pants up in the home ec store.
It's not a good story. It's not.
I know. So my story's not good or yours isn't good?
Mine is.
Okay, because I thought that was a
very good story.
All right, so well now I'm in the zone. Please, Slacks, tell me about the time you split your pants.
Right, I was a man of freedom last year before I was bogged down.
Freedom fries?
I didn't wear any underwear. I was a man.
Oh, that kind of freedom.
Went out in the world.
I can relate.
And I had this Omni Night cosplay that had these really tight pants that we bought, and I didn't mean for them to be tight. And we went and saw the Chinese cosplayers last year. Remember them? The scantily clad ladies.
I do remember.
Yeah. They wanted a picture with me, and they were like, "Do like a purification, like bend over and do a purification." I was like, these pants are really tight, but I went for it for the picture. Suffice it to say, the wrong area broke open. The girl, they were screaming. It was not good.
Wait, she actually saw the sea monster?
We won't talk about it, but we will say that duct tape had to be used we had to walk over to the Rite Aid and duct tape that up. It made actually a pretty good...
Did you make the mistake of only doing the one side duct tape? Because you got to put, if you're fixing up a hole, you got to put the duct tape on the other side so sticky touch. You don't want sticky duct tape on your ball sack.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
Thank you, Zyori, but no. We made it was cool. It was like it looked like a big diaper, like a duct tape.
I saw
diaper.
pictures.
Thank you.
So is there footage somewhere of you bending over and exposing this young lady?
No, that's all been deleted.
I want to see her reaction to the sea monster.
Well, Jesus. Oh, why is it always gotta be dicks with you, Zyori? What's the deal?
I don't know. Sorry. You're asking me that every time I went to sign a signature and I saw some blob somewhere. I'd look over and it's just like a stick figure riding a dickmobile and it says SirActionSlacks. I can't tell you how many like stick figures riding phallic things I saw signed in people's books. So let me ask you, sir, what's up with all the phallic imagery?
I'm just a bad artist. It wasn't on purpose, I just asked people what their hero was and tried to draw it in 5 seconds, and it was not good.
So in your brain, every Dota hero is made on the foundation of dicks?
Mm-hmm. It all started with Venomancer when I first started out, and it grew from there. But anyway, what about cosplays for you? How was your cosplay experience?
Dude, oh man, I love it. I'm really into the cosplayers, man.
Yeah.
I did stuff with League of Legends cosplayers. I've talked about this a lot, like 2 or 3 years ago when I was trying to... I was in a transitional phase in my life. I was trying to go from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Stopped off at point C, which was
the bad kids.
League of Legends cosplay, where things get dirty and treacherous.
Oh shit!
We got to observe the growth of that scene. What happens when a developer puts a little bit of like, "Hey, you're awesome," a little bit of love in between each stitch.
Wow.
So that was cool, and that hasn't happened for Dota yet. And seeing more people show up for TI5 with cooler, better costumes than we saw at TI4. Seeing Valve actually listen to what some people wanted, and they didn't do a competition, but they made a time.
Yeah.
They said, guys, come together, 10 o'clock Wednesday. We're doing it. We're having it. Cosplayers are meeting up. Unfortunately, some of the cosplayers missed the memo, which was unfortunate. I think it seemed like it was kind of a last-minute thing. But what was really cool about it was they had a professional grade photographer there. They were shooting some footage.
Wow.
Obviously they used some of it on the stream, but they said within a week or 2 weeks or so they're going to post most of the good pictures, and the cosplayers will be able to get high-res versions so they could have like prints for themselves or whatever and use that. That's the way I understood it, at least. Which wow is the proper term there. That's really cool. It's like
neato.
What's cool about cosplay? Like I think there's still a lot of people out there that don't get it.
Yeah.
I didn't get it for a long time, but I learned that it's just it's an artistic endeavor just on a different medium. Instead of a pencil or a marker or your vocal cords or your jokes, you're making fashion. You're just building on a body, and that's really cool.
That's really more than I thought it was.
If we want to keep Dota trending upward, keep it growing, you got to find ways to keep people into the game that isn't just getting better at Dota. Because there are an assload of people out there that are ass at Dota, really like the community, really like the energy at events like this, but don't give a shit about being better at last hitting in lane. You know, they don't give a shit about mechanics. But we still want those people in the community. They're still awesome dudes and dudettes, right?
Of course. Cosplay's a good, I never thought of it before.
It's a good outlet for those people to get engaged and get involved and feel like they're contributing. And on top of that, better yet, SirActionSlacks, it's a way for newcomers that come into the scene to show up and get all fucking pumped up. Little kids show up and they're like, oh my god, it's Crystal Maiden! Yeah. Oh, mommy, that's a Crystal Maiden without boobies. Why?
Yeah, and I just thought it was an excuse to show off the titties, but here it's apparently saving the communities.
Well, for some people, it is about showing off your jubblies, which is also okay.
That's fine.
I like jubblies and people that like to show them off, but for some people, it's also just a nice artistic endeavor, and it's a good, positive outlet. Encourage young people to get creative instead of doing drugs, right, Slacks?
Yeah, some people do drugs and cosplay.
Those are the really
those are the real dedicated.
They're really living on the edge, but it was cool. I got some really good footage. I just released my my sweet. This was my first video where I shot everything in 60 FPS, so that I could slow it down and do that really epic, somebody laughs and it's like. Yeah, I got some good smiles. Jesus. I wanted to capture I wanted to make a video where everyone's just smiling. I wanted people to look happy while they were cosplaying.
Yeah, you should have filmed at the Dead Mouse part, man. They were really smiling.
The cosplayers?
No, everybody.
Everybody. I was too busy dancing, dude. I was getting my groove on. I was dancing with a cosplayer. Actually.
Oh, tight.
So I got the best of all worlds on that.
So where can we find this 60 FPS cosplay video at Zyori?
Oh, Slacks, that's so well. If you just head over to Red Bull Esports. It's on my YouTube.
Oh, fantastic.
ZyoriTV. It's on the front page of my website as well. I did some other interviews. I'm going to do, I used to do this series called the Cosplay Spotlight.
Really?
And I'm going to stagger out some of my cosplay content. It's like...
series about cosplay.
It's a mixture of interviews, still frames, 60 FPS footage, and a little write-up. I don't fuck around,
I don't fuck around with cosplay.
When it comes to costumes, I don't fuck around.
Can I ask you a question? I mean, you seem so dedicated to cosplay, so interested. Where's yours? You don't have time for that anymore? Did you used to do it?
Well, I'm a creative sort from another. What's that? Right. What's that saying about that fucking crazy horse from the Wizard of Oz that changes colors? I'm a cosplayer of another color. Slacks. I'm wearing leggings. That's kind of a cosplay. I'm cosplaying a man with a nice ass.
What a cosplay!
I don't know. I mean, I would, but I don't know anything about making costumes. I've always hated Halloween. I didn't like playing dress up as a kid.
That's the most confusing. So you have such respect and love for cosplayers, but it's not you.
Yeah, well, I went full throttle. I thought it was stupid, and then I opened up my mind a little bit. I checked myself before I wrecked myself. Realized it's awesome, but I still suck at making costumes. So I'm still getting my feet wet. But I mean, I get plenty of exposure. I'm like, caster shit. I'm on camera all the time. These people, a lot of them don't have big followings yet because there isn't a lot of exposure for cosplayers. So this is definitely an avenue where I'm happy to be on the other side of the camera. I hired a camera guy to follow me around because I said I want some good pictures. Every event I go to, it's done, and I want to show the world how much fun I had, and I go to find pictures, and it's all like these blurry-ass selfies. They're all shaking and excited. I wanted some good, crisp, quality, high-definition shots.
Wow.
But when the cosplayers...
And where can we find these high-definition quality shots?
Instagram.com. But that was the one time. As soon as I saw the cosplayers, why do you keep looking at the statue behind us as if there's some sort of approval to be had?
Nothing. I'm not. That's just my eyes wander behind.
I bought this life-size Suns fan replica at the secret shop.
They sold like hotcakes.
They only had one. And I showed up and I offered them everything in my pockets, which happened to be all of my credit cards.
Wowee.
So it was an expensive purchase, but I think worth it. It's going to go well in my bedroom.
Absolutely.
I'm going to put it next to my TV. So every time I watch Netflix, he just stares deeper into my soul.
It's actually it's a seat warmer for the toilet. the booty is heated, and you just leave it on the toilet every day. Wake up and, oh, Jesus!
Yeah.
All right, so
good.
So since you were like that about cosplays, let me ask you a very difficult question.
Please, dude, I like the hard
As somebody who was there for pretty much every stage, which I think you're unique for, you were cast in the group stage, you saw it as a fan, you saw it as an employee, you went in on the later stages. What could they improve upon last year? And that's a hard question, because this year, was, in my opinion, the best TI there's ever been. As an audience standpoint, maybe not from gameplay-wise, you can't really beat TI3 finals, but I think that Valve did the best job that they've ever done at this TI, and I'll go on record saying that. So,
yeah.
Do you agree with that, number one?
Well, thank you for setting me up to say negative things about Valve, Slacks.
Well, no. I'm just saying, like, I was actually generally interested in what people thought could be improved.
If I can come up with anything to be improved. I
besides
agree.
Dead Mouse.
Yeah, besides... Well, see, okay, I want to talk about Dead Mouse a little bit, but overall, I totally agree with you. This, last year was the first TI in Key Arena. It's a big jump up from Battle Royale. You expect some things to be not totally fleshed out.
Right.
This go-around, it seemed like they really put a lot of thought into it. I mean, I thought that the stage design was cool. I mean, the spells going across was awesome. You couldn't really watch that if you were watching a team fight happening at the same time, but it was still a really cool effect. What was almost cooler at the venue for me, the lights. You know, like Winter's Curse gets used. All venue turns blue. Power cogs come out. All these crazy red lights that give you a headache. You know, all this kind of cool stuff. Static length, or everybody has a seizure. Yeah.
They really did make it more like a spectator thing, which is why I thought going to a TI would be like, it was an event. It was incredible. So anyway, continue.
And I was really sad when I saw a thread on the front page that was titled, like, how can Valve continually fuck up the final ceremony? Because I thought this one was awesome. There were fire... Yeah. I want to meet the guy whose job it was to be like, yeah, we're all green here. Fireworks! You know, is it one button? Is it a series of buttons? Is it just like those old school, like, Daffy Duck, you push down the lever and everything just explodes, you know?
It's Dendy in the back.
Like, yeah, it's Dendy in the back. I mean, I thought all that was super sick.
Yeah, no.
The people bitching about EG not showing enough motion need to fuck off.
Are you serious? I mean, I was fucking, like, if I literally went up there that day... Everyone at that event was exhausted.
I know.
Overly exhausted.
But it's like, if you just won TI5, especially the biggest esports tournament in history, you have just won the right to react however the fuck you want.
Right.
If EG doesn't want to smile, if they want to just start fucking bare-knuckle boxing, they can do it. They earned the right to do that.
They did.
You know?
Jesus. I mean, seriously, like, I was literally so exhausted, I didn't even play. I had no pressure on me. These guys had the most pressure... out of anybody in the world probably that day. Like, and it's just, like, I know, when I watched it, I was like, oh, thank God, it's over. Like, no matter how I enjoyed it. It was, so don't be mad at them. Holy shit. Yeah. If you're in their shoes, you'd be a sleeper at that point, like, just in your car. Yeah. But
and that whole time you were talking while I wasn't listening, I was just trying to think of anything anything really tangible that I'd really want improved, and I can't really think of too much. The other addition that I really thought was cool was that outside screen. I don't know if you watched much of that, but the weather was beautiful on a lot of the days. One night was a little bit cold. You could just stand out there. Once it started to get a little bit dark, kind of dusky, the screen super popped in the darkness, a great sound system. You're just like at an amphitheater. It's like you're at Woodstock, you know? You're at an outdoor concert just watching Dota. Yeah. I like that they made it more of sort of a fair type thing. You go outside, there's food trucks, there's all this outdoor seating. The line for the secret shop was kind of wrapping around the amphitheater, so if there was a long queue, you could still watch the games and, you know, be kind of still in the mix and be waiting in queue. The whole thing was just a big improved setup from last time.
I think so too.
All that stuff I thought was...
So what they do wrong, Zyori? What needs to be improved upon?
Well, so the 4 best of 3s I think is too much for one day. I think one thing that they learned partway through was during the group stage, not even at the main event, the panel they did that had Syndra, Merlini, Winter, and Chobra. There's no way you can do a panel like that with those super long days without any subs. They did the first 2, I think, where it was just them, and then day 3 and 4 they rotated in Shiver, they rotated in Column Guy, and they called some audibles. But that was an ambitious schedule for the talent. And I think even if you can make a schedule where, like, okay, the talent can physically do this, there's value in giving Chobra a series off so that he can rest and come back fresh. You know, there's value in having an extra person, even if they don't get as much face time or whatever, giving people time to rest from a talent perspective. That's very nitpicky, though. That's kind of like, you had an amazing panel with, like, the best people possible. The schedule is too long for all those people to you know, really give 110% all day.
Right.
But, you know, like, even just Valve bringing in the talent a few days early, and here giving us a few days at the tail end of the event, I think is really, really important. One thing that I learned at the hub this year in Bucharest was... and I talked to James about this a little bit. It was just the value in getting everybody together. You know, having these kind of events where it's bipartisan, if you will, cross studio. We're all putting all of our allegiances and competition aside to just come together and work on one event, you know?
Right.
That's kind of a rarity in our space, and I think that's really important. Like, giving all of those people free time to just sit around and play Mafia seems a little bit silly or maybe like a waste of time, but I would argue that it's a really good team building activity, and in the long run that's really helpful when, you know, we get into these little differences on the internet. It helps deter those stupid Twitter feuds that kind of just promote negativity in general. I think it just helps humanize everyone, bring everyone together, and, you know, remind us all that, hey man, we're on the same team.
Yeah, and it's actually really helpful for the people that don't get invited to the hub. Because then you get a nice checklist of revenge is what I'm going for. So, next year we're halfway down, and I'll see you all out there later. But for now, we're almost...
Yeah.
But no, just...
But no, stuff like that is important, though, I think. It does suck that some people get left out. I mean,
to
that part, you know, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? It's all good. It's all good. No hard feelings. But anyway, I agree with you. It makes working these events where things are like everybody's working together on the game and stuff, it's got to make that easier too.
Yeah.
So
I mean, for me, it's, even though I would have loved to work the main event in more of a capacity than just kind of the newcomer stream, it was great to have a lot of free time to be able to just walk around and collect content and do all that stuff. I was so shocked that there were so few like media outlets doing interviews during press day. That was another thing that Valve did this year that was fabulous, is setting up a dedicated day for interviews. It was the day after the group stage was done. Every team was required to be there. They had like a 1.5 hour slot or something.
Wow.
So if you were, you know, from the score or Ghost Gamers or whatever, and you wanted to do player interviews, that's your day where players are there, they have to be there, and you know, can convince them or whatever. Players don't have to do interviews. They can still pick and choose with what organizations they want to associate with. But I just kind of showed up just randomly like, hey, what's going on? S4's just sitting there twiddling his thumbs. I'm like, Gustav, get the fuck over here. We're doing an interview, you know?
Oh, shit.
I wish I could have done more. I had to go to the secret shop that day halfway through. But
I needed my plushies real bad.
Well, I had to pick up my pre-order. Come on, man.
Oh, my God.
But I wish I could have capitalized on that a little more, because I last year there wasn't a media day, and it was kind of chaos trying to lock down players. It really was a frenzy. So I imagined walking in there to be a frenzy, just like as a media person. That's prime time. That's the dream. And
prime rib,
the day was not seized. I don't know if it was just at a timing in which a lot of the media outlets weren't here yet because it was so far ahead of the main event, or if it was because last year there were so many media outlets here. Like BTS didn't send anybody this year because they're like, well, we got some okay footage, but it wasn't really cost effective to send a multi-person camera team because everybody else is doing it. And for BTS, it's like a side thing, whereas Gosu Gamers or Join Dota,
that's like their thing.
The journalism is part of their brand.
The journalism.
The journalism. I mean, there's a reason a lot of players won't do interviews with those sites because they write such shitty articles constantly.
Well, it's hard to, when your writing staff is actually the people that post on our Dota 2 New, it's very difficult to quality control that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I think some players and personalities...
Hey, if you guys have any spots on your thing...
Well, some personalities and players are a little bit too sensitive to questionable... Journalism is like a gray area spectrum, right? And you've got one side that's like NPR, which is just very well-rounded, you know, pretty unbiased, that kind of stuff. And then you've got like the clickbait, oh, Zyori's hired by our competitor, cool, but where's Lumi? Did you guys fire him, or what's the drama behind that? Like, that's not journalism. That's just like drama mongering and sort of like trying to utilize your platform in a way that gives you a competitive advantage. You know, I'm still salty about that, by the way, Join Dota.
Whoa!
So, like... I see why some personalities don't want to associate with that, or they're like fear of like those clickbaity titles that make you sound like a douchebag. I've had that as well when I was in Bucharest, where I was quoting Gerg on a podcast we did together, where we were talking about instability in the North American scene, and he said because his reasoning was that there are too many people that are just after the top 8 fuck you money at TI so they can finish paying off college or buying a car or whatever it is, and then they don't have to really care about Dota seriously. So I said that, I regurgitated that in this interview in Bucharest, and they titled it, interview with Zyori, quote, all players just looking for that fuck you money out of TI. And I'm just like,
sick.
All players in North America. Like, you're, god damn it. You know, and I had to fight with them to take it down or change the title and stuff. See, that happens enough times. You're just like, you know what, fuck all y'all. I'd rather just not say anything and just not have to deal with this because it's kind of a stressor. So enough people have been burned that I get it, but I do think people are a little hypersensitive. Like, did you see that Join Dota article they did after, was it day 1 or day 2 when Cloud9 threw that game, that really epic gold sway was the title? Like, Cloud9 throws 25k gold lead to start off the tournament or whatever, and a lot of people thought that was a shitty article.
It's a bit rough.
It was kind of a shitty article, but that's not that bad. That's sort of, I guess, this long-winded way of saying it's a gray area, and
Right.
I think people hold them accountable for the extremes maybe too much sometimes because we don't have a lot of options when it comes to journalism in Dota.
Right.
And not all of them can afford to send people to TI. That shit's fucking expensive, man.
It is. And the problem is that when you have like very serious, high regulated journalism about something like Dota, there's not going to be that many stories that are like there to sustain you. I mean, really, having anything, you have to have content every day. So of course they're going to turn to the easy drama like, yo, 2 players are having a problem. You'll never guess who. Well, click here.
And it's all a gray area in the sense that, like, the whole Korok thing. The fundamental question of is this a story worth reporting?
Right.
And my argument was that it's a story worth reporting, but the way in which it was reported was lackluster. Right. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he's a TI competitor, if that's real sports, that's absolutely going to be making headlines the next day. If there is a question of will it impact his ability to perform at the event, will he still be able to participate in the event?
Right.
All those are legitimate journalistic questions, but there's a difference between finding something that's worth being reporting and reporting it in a way that's responsible and reputable.
Why can't they just make content about cosplayers, man?
That's what I'm saying. Dude, to me, I don't want to give away all my secrets, but it's the trifecta, right? People like looking at it, so naturally people click on it. It's an underserved market.
Come on,
right?
Yes.
It's get out there, people. Write articles about the cosplayers.
Go write articles.
My God.
This time.
But I mean, it is tricky though. Journalism in this scene is hard because we've learned some things from Richard Lewis. Do's and don'ts. Richard Lewis, please tell me you've heard of that fine gentleman.
Richard Lewis.
Slacks, you gotta up your esports game, my man.
Who?
He's that angsty guy in League of Legends and Counter-Strike. He hates the moderators on the League subreddit. He broke that story about the NDAs and Riot with the moderators.
I don't pay attention to
he
lesser
broke
games.
That story about match fixing in CSGO. He's like kind of a real journalist. He sensationalizes a little bit.
Wow.
He's pretty good. But the problem is our industry is still super tiny. And there's always this pool of insiders that know shit before it happens in real life because you can't just YOLO like, hey, we're going to do a tournament. Let's just pick a week and go for it. You got to double check. Like, MLG, you guys working on anything? There's just like that inner circle of everybody knows it's in everyone's interest to not leak this information kind of thing. Right. So that kind of information is accessible, and along with it is drama and stuff about player swaps and all this kind of shit, but a lot of people that have access to that info can't report it because they know if they spill the beans, then they won't be in the inner circle anymore.
Right.
So that's a conflict of interest sort of right there, and then there are all these people that kind of ride that line of, hey, I'm a journalist and I'm open about it and I really want to bring real journalism to esports, but even though that's needed and good, it simultaneously kind of dissuades insiders from really getting buddy-buddy, huggy-huggy with those folks because, hey man, you're kind of the enemy. It's like Almost Famous. They fucking like the guy, but they know he's the goddamn enemy and he's recording all the dumb bullshit that they're going to say. So you're stuck in this kind of rock in a hard place, Tiny trying to jerk his rock dick off. What do you do?
Whoa. So you're saying that
how does a rock masturbate? It's a conundrum.
You could ask the thing that the Aegis was sitting on if you want to know that question.
Was that Tiny's piece just?
That was literally Casey was over there all the time.
That's fucked up, Slash. God, too far, man.
So you're saying that we need a white knight journalism in
I don't know, man.
One guy that will never give out his sources that anyone could leak stuff to. It could be Zyori. What if it's Zyori?
Could, I mean, it's like NA Dota, man. It's a problem, but I don't have a good solution to it.
NA Dota, solution to it would be to nuke it and start again.
I think it's under new management because they followed me and they've retweeted me multiple times. They even tweeted something nice to me. And that's such a change from the past that I feel like there's no explanation other than there is a new person in control of that Twitter account. That is the only possible explanation.
I thought you were talking about not the site, but the scene in general.
Well, I meant the scene in general, but then I took it micro to the site because it reminded me of all these positive things I've been reading recently. If you want to have some real fun, by the way, just tweet anything positive about China when they're playing Evil Geniuses, and Twitter will get really angsty about it. I can't tell you how many people tweeted traitor and kill yourself and you're not an American, it was pretty funny.
Oh man, I tweeted all sorts of shit. That Windrunner Winter Werevan draft. Oh, I was dying with the Broodmother mid. I was like, great Shackle Wind Ranger. That was great. Too bad he lost the entire team fight in the match. But hey, Wind Ranger's
That's fucked up, Slacks.
It's not fucked up.
That's fucked up, man.
You cannot win with those two heroes on the same team. It's literally impossible. But anyway, biases aside, we kind of got a little bit off topic for TI. So, how about you wrap it up with your favorite, just your general feeling. How was TI for you?
Thank you for commandeering the cadence of my podcast.
I'm not saying ended. I'm just saying let's get back on track.
Let's get back. Okay, good. So my absolute favorite moment, that one time.
Hey, man.
That one time that I really enjoyed my stay there at Seattle.
Great. All right, I'll call you back. I'm doing some worthless thing. I'll see you in a little bit. Sorry, that was Gabe.
So I think that was actually my favorite moment of TI right there. That time that Slacks took a phone call. And
that's super interesting. My favorite part. Just kidding.
What was my actual favorite part? Honestly, it's a lame answer, but I think it was casting that VP Secret series on the main stage. One, because it was iconic of Secret getting eliminated in an upset against VP. Yep. It was one of the most hyped series I've ever cast, and I think probably like the most hype I've ever been, almost to a fault. Like the crowd is super loud. I'm sure if you go back and watch that final game and like the ending moment, I'm just screaming like a haggard ass chain smoker, just going completely, just like completely out of control. But it was just genuine hype and enthusiasm. You know, that was the first time I've been able to cast like in an arena live and hear that audience just going crazy, and that was my most memorable esports moment, I think. Aside from my 21st birthday coinciding with the Saturday of the first esports event I ever went to. That was a pretty memorable experience as well.
Cool beans.
But yeah, so how about you, Slacks? Can you beat that? Can you top that?
My favorite part about TI is when it ended and when this interview ended. So I'm going to cut it here. Thank you so much for having me at the podcast. And we'll see you at TI6 for me. You can have your own egg. I'm out of here. I gotta go.
All right, that must have been an important call. All right, well, that was Zyori Podcast number 79. Guys, don't follow SirActionSlacks on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, or Instagram. He did some good content. I think that's it. Shout out to our statues in the background. Well played, well cosplayed. We got some production value here. Let's see. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.